So I was at Toronto International Film Festival and I saw a whole bunch of movies. This one's coming out pretty soon and a lot of people probably want to hear what I have to say about it, so I'm going to do this one first. I saw Joker and it was pretty good. Now I did have quite a few issues with this movie, but there was also a lot to appreciate. This is the kind of movie where you can pretty much just project your own expectations onto it and get whatever you wanted. If you're expecting this to be the best movie ever made, then it might just be for you. If you're expecting it to be kind of a piece of shit, then you might feel that way about it. As for me, I was what I would call cautiously optimistic. Joaquin Phoenix is one of my favorite actors and he does a great job with everything. The concept of making a lower budget character study out of a superhero villain is kind of interesting. But I guess the majority of my caution came from the director Todd Phillips. This is a very different tone of a project than anything else he's made, and even the most successful films that he has directed are not ones that I would call great. It was a pleasant surprise to discover that in this film, the directing was not the worst part of it. The directing in this film is pretty solid. It's reasonably well shot and more so than I was expecting. It has an interesting personality. The color palette helps the tone of the film as well. This is by no means a poorly made film. There are some aspects to the presentation that were pretty annoying that I'll talk about in a bit, but the biggest issues I had with this movie was with the story. And no, not from a standpoint of considering this film to be socially irresponsible. There were some parts of this movie that were just really, really dumb. But first I might as well keep talking about what I enjoyed. The soundtrack to this film was pretty great. There were some enjoyable pre-existing songs that helped to complement the tone. The film's score was atmospheric and interesting. For the most part, it was appropriately used, but there was one scene where it felt a little manipulative and unnecessary. The interpretation of the Joker in this film was also pretty interesting, not just from Joaquin Phoenix's performance, but the script offers a unique take on this character. I don't really read the comics, so maybe it's more faithful than I think, but it explores angles that I haven't really seen in the other Batman Joker films. The movie is well paced and pretty entertaining. There are definitely a few satisfying moments within this movie. It's successfully disturbing and unnerving. It's pretty obvious that fans of the Joker are going to really enjoy this one. Now, the spoiler-free issues I have with the story are that some of the characters are more like caricatures. There are quite a few cheesy moments that seem really cliched. The other issues I have are kind of spoilery, so I'm gonna start the spoiler section right now. If you don't want to hear spoilers for this movie, click to this part in the video. There's your warning. 3, 2, 1. Now, pretty early into the film, it establishes that our main character tends to hallucinate things, and after that point, he meets a girl and their relationship is almost too perfect. So it was pretty obvious that the scenes with her weren't actually happening, and when they wind up revealing that later in the film, the way that they handle it feels pretty stupid. Basically, the girl is real and he breaks into her apartment, and the way that she reacts makes it very, very obvious that they didn't really have an established relationship and he just imagined the whole thing. And at that point, it was pretty thoroughly spelled out, but they decided they needed to show flashbacks of each scene, like, ooh, she wasn't there this time, and she wasn't there this time either. If this were a PG-13 movie, then at least you could make the case that it's for the children in the audience. But this is a rated R movie, so it just feels really stupid. Now, I was excited for this film to be a standalone origin story of Joker, but for some reason they just couldn't fucking help themselves but to shoehorn Bruce Wayne into the story. Every single scene where they tried to connect the Joker story with the Wayne family was really annoying and embarrassing. It's so unnecessary and forced. Just feels like a lot of insisted importance when this story would have functioned just fine without it, and it seriously kept getting worse and worse. By the end of it, they reveal that the guy who kills Bruce Wayne's parents was inspired to do it because of the Joker. Holy crap, was that ever lame. Anyway, I do have a few issues with the presentation and especially the story, but it's still a pretty good movie. It's probably not going to make my top 10 list at the end of the year, but it was certainly worth checking out, and I'd probably see it again. So yeah, check this one out if you want. It's not a masterpiece, but it's pretty good. And I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's closer to a 6 than an 8, but I guess I'm giving it a 7. Thank you.